Yes.
Yes, this is scientific temper classes or scientific temper broadly defined as modest, open-minded temper. To start this topic, let us good afternoon to everyone and I will try my best to give you bilingual opportunities. That means I will try this in English as well as sometimes with Hindi. So you will feel convenient. And from myself is Afzal Gilani with you, and I am here to explain regarding scientific temper. So I would like to draw your attentions towards the topic. The topic in its nature is science related. Therefore, the term scientific temper is broadly defined as modest open mindset temper. The question arises, what is the meaning of modest? So, modest means with due respect, or sometimes it is vinam. So, with modest, open minded temper, now a temper always ready to welcome new life, new knowledge, new experiments, even when these results are unfavorable to us. How and why? The topic is, of course, scientific temper, and therefore, if the result is as accordingly, and if it is unfavorable to us, that is, preconceived opinion or long cherished theory we have already, and we generally not try to accept easily any new things. And science is the topic where every day something new. Hence, now I will give the details related to the scientific temper as according to the explanations. The term scientific temper is broadly defined as a modest, open-minded temper. A temper ever ready to welcome new light, new knowledge, new experiments, even when their results are unfavorable to recognized opinion and long cherished theories. It is a way of life. Regarding scientific temper, the definition is coming as it is a way of life. In this context, as an individual and social process of thinking and acting, which uses the scientific method and which may consequently include questioning, observing physical reality, testing, hypothesis, analyzing, communicating, and so on. Now, so what will happen due to this approach? A discussion or argument and analysis are vital part of scientific temper. And these all discussion, argument and analysis were happen. It, it aims to inculcate the values of scientific thinking, appreciate scientific development, and drive away superstition and religious bigotry and all form of pseudoscience. That means if we go through this paragraph or if we go through these definitions, we see one side our aim and objective is to define the knowledge on the basis of scientific method. It means hypothesis, analyzing, communicating, testing, physical reality, questioning. These are the parameters. On the other hand, due to this discussion, argument, and analysis are taken place, and these are the vital parts of scientific. So, what is the benefits of this? It aims to inculcate the values of scientific thinking, appreciate scientific development, and drive away superstitions and religious bigotry and all form of pseudo science. Now, what happens in the development in the entire world? Scientific temper as a notion existed from a long time or for a long time. Scientific temper as a notion, it means the belief or we recognize the things as a scientific from a long time. And the origin of the term is unknown. This is the big headache in the beginning of the concept. The exact terminology became frequently in the mid of 19th century. In the mid of 19th century, when a scholar has a short definition in 1893 saying a scientific temper means a scrupulous and rigid exactness, यानी ईमानदारी के साथ सही सही अगर हम बात को सामने रखते हैं, which is the outcome of the exact science, and this is the exact science that is logical based. In his Conway Memorial Lecture in 1922, Bertrand Russell used the example of Einstein to explain the meaning of scientific temper. So these are the highly qualified noble laureate, and what are their views regarding the science and scientific temper. So what he says, we have had in recent years a brilliant example of the scientific temper of mind in the theory of relativity. The theory of relativity is given by the physicist scientist Albert Einstein. According to him, the time and space both are not constant. Although in the beginning it is taken as absolute, but in the second theory he has said no. This is not absolute and has given a relative theory. So, its reception by the world. Einstein, a German scientist, was appointed to a research professorship by the German government in the early days of war. His predictions were verified by an English expedition which observed the eclipse of 1919. Very soon after the armistice, his theory upset the whole theoretical framework of traditional physics. It is almost as damaging to orthodox dynamics as Darwin was to Genesis. Now, the term scientific temper is broadly defined as modest, open-minded temper. So, temper always ready to welcome new light, new knowledge, new experiments, even when the result is not favorable. It is a way of life, individual and social process, thinking and acting, which uses the scientific method and which may consequently include questioning, observing physical reality, testing, hypothesis, analyzing, and communicating. So, the ultimately result is discussion, argument, analysis will take place. And these are the vital parts of the scientific temper. So, what is meant by scientific temper? Individual's attitude of logical and rational thinking. Individual attitude of logical and rational thinking. It means scientific method of decision making in day-to-day life. Therefore, benefits of scientific temperament. To bring forth progress in the society, that is progressive society, and free of superstitions and irrational practices. The second thing, developing nations in all directions, that is aesthetically, in political, economical, and social front, promoting tolerance for different thoughts and ideas. These are the benefits of scientific temper. Now, the question is how to develop a scientific temper. Number one, encourage in to ask question. Number two, allow the person or students or teachers seek out answer on his own. Number three, guidance and direction for reliable sources of reference. And number four, TV program, more time for scientific temper rather entertainment. These are the benefits and development of the scientific temper. Now, Indian scientists engage in science contributing to the understanding of the natural world and developing approaches and technologies to measure or change outcome well before scientific revolution that began in Europe in 1543. Whether it was the more than 2 millennium old Jantar Mantars of Maharaja Swai Jai Singh, science and technology were inbuilt in large fabric of India well before British rule. During colonial rule, while it was not a priority to nurture Indian science, universities were established. Jane Tata and the regent Queen of Mysore laid the ground for founding of the IISC in 909. In 1909, when India became independent in 1947, 32 educational and scientific establishments were set up in 15 years that serve as model institutions. So, science for development. As India strove to throw off British rule, the political leadership, influenced strongly by the builders of the nuclear and space program, that is, the scientific temper's reality comes to in India when the political leaderships influenced strongly the builders of nuclear and space program, recognized the need for science or development. In 1958, the government its scientific policy resolution. The government published its scientific policy and resolution, which stated the dominating feature of contemporary world is the intense civilization of science on a large scale and its application to meet a country's requirements. When the fundamental duties were added to the Constitution in 1976 through Article 15AH, the eighth duty stated, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reforms. This made the Constitution one of the few that requires the spirit of inquiry and scientific temper as foundational aspect of society. Jawaharlal Nehru in the Discovery of India writes, scientific temper is a way of life, an individual and social process of thinking and acting which uses a scientific method which may include questioning, observing reality, testing, hypothesizing, analyzing, and communicating. Scientific temper can be viewed through two lenses. One of the traditional scientific community and the other of society as a whole. Before independence, India had leading scientists such as botanist Lafont, who partnered with others to establish the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, and J.J. Worship in the Nilgiris after whom the ever-shade flow effect in the chromosphere is named. But there were also internationally recognized Indian scientists such as K.S. Krishnan, C.V. Raman, and others who developed their fields but largely on an individual basis. In independent India, the move from competitive individualism to institutions building was supported by the government and its policies. Now, what is the problem? The problem of opportunities. Following the expansive phase after independence, there has been an explosion of new institutions in the 21st century with successful models such as IITs, IIMs being abdicated and new ones such as the IISER being created. These expansions were needed to keep pace with an expanding population and changing world. What is the trajectory of science? What is needed to change India's place in the global science arena? It is frequently initiated that India has been climbing the ranking of countries in terms of publications, and this is true. However, their quality, their acceptance in the highest tiers of publications, as well as their subsequent utility remain underwhelming. Students from our best institutions leave India since they graduate. Scientific communities bewail the lack of postdoctoral positions and career opportunities. The government has created fellowship and early career contract, contractually faculty positions, but these are still the refuge of largely those who for social reasons are unable to move or those who cannot find opportunities outside India. Beyond academic too, the lack of readiness for other employment among science and technology graduates and doctorates has been increasingly highlighted over the past few decades. Innovations requires both fundamental discovery and its application. We built many of our research institutions outside of universities that offer a more diverse education. Until recently, industry collaborations were looked on as something done by scientists who could not make the cut within their own basic research or constituting a conflict of interest. A standalone institutions and the lack of linkage mean that we have neither the critical mass for academic competitive excellence nor many fields or the ecosystems or innovations. There are attempts to change the science, technology, and innovation policies of 2020. It states that in order for India to march ahead on a sustainable development pathway towards achieving an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a greater emphasis may be needed on developing traditional knowledge system, developing indigenous technologies, and encouraging grassroots innovations. The CSIR and the Department of Science and Technology and Biotechnology had attempted to advance science through their research, but intentions needed to back by resources at scale. The COVID-19 pandemic resulted in increased resources as well as an awareness of science in society. When newspapers track numbers and try to decipher what they mean, it is an opportunity to communicate the value of science and counter the challenges brought about by a lack of scientific temper. This need was recognized by many peoples since movements of the 1970, similar to the Kerala Sansthan Sahitya Parishad established in 1962. This issue was escape into magical belief and instant solution was and is recognized by scientists too, but their challenges of communications with society remain limited, reflected in widespread disinformation during the pandemic with the burgeoning of the beliefs in improving method of treatment. In the beginning, in 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of independent India, popularized the use of the phrase scientific temper to further propagate the notions. He gave a descriptive explanation in the discovery of India. Accordingly, the scientific temper points out the way along which man should travel. It is the temper of a free man. We live in a scientific age, so we are told, but there is still evidence of this temper in the people anywhere or even their leaders. What is needed is the scientific approach, the adventurous and yet critical temper of science, the search for truth and new knowledge, the refusal of accept anything without testing and trying, the capacity to change previous conclusions in the face of new evidence, the reliance on observed fact and not on preconceived theory, the hard discipline of the mind. All this is necessary, not merely for the application of science, but for life itself and the solution of its many problems. So, that was the Nehru concept, and he has given a detailed concept regarding the scientific temper and elaborates the explanation in his book. Nehru wrote that the scientific temper goes beyond the domain to which science is conventionally understood to the limited to and deal also with the consideration of ultimate purpose, beauty, goodness, and truth. He contended that the scientific temper is the opposite of the method of religion, which relies on emotion and institutions and is applied to everything in life, even to those things which are capable of intellectual inquiry and observation, while religion trends to close the mind and produce intolerance, credulity, and superstitions. So these are the facts written by the Jawaharlal Nehru in his book and his views regarding scientific temper. Now the question is, are science and scientists trusted and feared in India? Our space and nuclear program are widely lauded and trusted. They and some fields of mathematics and chemistry grew because of individuals who persuaded the government to invest in institutions and to support them outside of the bureaucracy. Other fields have not done as well, either with society or with government. Can we survive as a society without a scientific temper? Yes, we can. We can continue to accept what is developed and earned in the other parts of the world without necessarily contributing to the process of discovery and development. The deal, the real question is, can we thrive as a society without scientific temper? This is a big question. And where is the solutions? We will go now. Yes, Nehru writes as intolerance, credibility, and superstitions, emotionalism and irrationalism, and a temper of a dependent on free persons. A scientific temper is the temper of a free man. He also indicates that the scientific temper goes beyond objectivity and fosters creativity and progress. He envisioned that the spread of scientific temper would be accompanied by shrinking of the domain of religion and the existing adventure of fresh and never ceasing discoveries of new panoramas, opening of and new ways of living. Adding to fullness and ever making it richer and more complete, he also stated that it is science alone that can solve the problem of hunger and poverty, of insanitations and illiteracy, of superstitions and deadening customs and traditions, of vast resources running to west, of rich country inhabited by a starving people. So it is recognition in India. It is fundamental duty of Indian citizen, and it is in India the first and only country to explicitly adopted scientific temper as in its constitution. In the 42nd Amendment in 1976, Article 51AH was added under the fundamental duties that states it shall be duty of every citizen of India. It shall be duty of every citizen of India to develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reforms. So, government actions. The first major program under the Government of India to popularize scientific temper among the people was the Vigyan Mandir experiment in 1953. It was created by S.S. Bhatnagar, at the time head of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, that is CSIR, in Delhi, and launched by Nehru on 15th of August. Its purpose was to disseminate scientific information of interest to the rural populations, and the centers were furnished with scientific tools, films, and books. CSIR has started publishing a popular science periodicals, Vigyan Pragati, in Hindi in 1952. It introduced an English monthly journal, Science Reporter, in 1964, and then a Urdu quarterly journal, Science Ki Dunia, in 1982. The National Council for Science and Technology Communications was established under the Departments of Science and Technology, and CSTC is mandated to communicate science and technology to masses, stimulate scientific and technological temper, and coordinate and orchestrate such efforts throughout the country. NCSTC organizes annual programs such as National Science Day and National Mathematics Day, the National Children's Science Congress, National Teacher Science Congress, and Science Express. It specifically dedicated the National Science Day on 28 February 2014 to the theme Fostering Scientific Temper to spread Nehru's vision. The National Institute of Science, Communications and Information Resources launched the scholarly serial Journal of Scientific Temper in 2013. Advantages of science and technology, and let us take count on the point basis. So, number one, it will make our life easier. So, it is very important. The second, number two, it helps us organize our daily activities. And the third point is this helps our work can be done faster. The fourth one, it helps us to communicate more easily with others. And the fifth one, this helps us to better know and understand other cultures and societies. So if you will review one by one all the 5 points, these we are using in day-to-day life. Regarding it will make, first point, it will make our life easier. But natural, we are using our mobile, our bike, our whatever resources we have. And it is making our life easier. Number two, it helps us organizing our daily activities. Yes, I think everyone will agree with this. The science and technology providing us an assistance to fairly easier way for activities. Number three, this helps us to work can be done faster. Yes, we can use plane for our work faster than the traditional method. And it helps us to communicate more easily with others, which is evident from the mobile, especially when we are using WhatsApp. So these are the benefits. In the topic scientific temper, the very important topic is the importance of science and technology. This is the main essence of the topic. Its advantage and disadvantage. Today, here we are going to talk about the importance of the science and technology through scientific temper. The man have progressed through science and technology and made his life secure and comfortable. Man is totally dependent on it. So there is more importance of science and technology, and man has progressed through science and technology. Science has made the impossible things too possible. We had reached on the moon. We had made difficult work easy through technology. Science and technology have made the life safe, secure and comfortable. And these all are depends due to scientific temperament, which is our topic. Today we are totally dependent on science, whether it is inside or outside the home. Now we can enjoy every second of our life through them. Technology has totally changed the field of entertainment. Now we can entertain ourselves through computers, games, TV, and so on. Electric light, air conditions, fans, and all the electronic gadgets are all gift of science. We can enjoy cold coffee, mango shake, cold drinks during summer season through refrigerators. All these things are possible due to scientific invention. Today traveling have become very fast. We can travel a long distance in minutes through aeroplane. All this is possible through Science. The railway is another way of comfort traveling. Car, buses, scooters are other means of traveling which we use day and night. These things made our life trouble free. It is all the wonder of science and it is due to scientific temper and we are looking our benefits from the scientific temperament. These things made our life trouble free. It is all the wonder of science. Modern world is more and more dependent on them. It is said that science is a good and useful servant, but it is a bad destructive master. I am saying this thing because today we are misusing it. Today atomic energy is used for war and fight purpose. Why we are not using it for peaceful purpose? Of course, nowadays we are using for the useful purpose and atomic reactor plant are so many in the world through which we are getting our dependency independent on energy. Now, advantages of science. Life is become easy and comfortable through science and technology. Traveling has become easy and fast in minutes. Communication is become easy, fast and cheaper. The standard of life have increased with the increase in technology. Due to the development, in the science and technology, impossible have become possible. Difficult thing and work have become easy and comfort to man due to science and technology. Life has become easy and stable. Now, in scientific temper, the results that we are looking is benefit of in the form of science. The process of science is a way of building knowledge about the universe, constructing new ideas that illuminate the world around us. Those ideas are inherently tentative, but as they cycle through the process of science again and again and are tested and retested in different ways, we become increasingly confident in them. Furthermore, through this same iterative process, ideas are modified, expanded, and combined into more powerful explanations. For example, a few observations about our many years and through the work of many different scientists, we will into the broad understanding of genetic offered by science today. So, although the process of science is iterative, ideas do not churn through it repeatedly. Instead, the cycle activity serves to construct and integrate scientific knowledge. And the knowledge is useful for the sort of things from designing bridges to slowing climate change to promoting frequent hand washing during flu season. Scientific knowledge allows us to develop new technologies, solve practical problems, and make informed decisions both individually and collectively because its products are so useful. The process of science is intertwined with those applications. The process of sine and V. The flow chart can be represented in the process of formal science, but in fact, many aspects of this process are relevant to everyone and can be used in your everyday life. Even if we are not an amateur or professional scientist, sure, some elements of the process really only apply to formal science publications. So, now, after the discussions and giving the time to the topic, scientific temperament, we are coming to the conclusion that the term scientific temper is broadly defined as modest, open-minded temper. And its explanation is given by as a temper ever ready to welcome new light, new knowledge, new experiments, even when their results are not favorable to preconceived opinions and long cherished theories. So, it is a way of life as defined in this context as an individual and social process of thinking and acting, which uses the scientific method and which may consequently include questioning, observing, testing, hypothesizing, analyzing, and communicating. Of course, discussion, argument, analysis are vital parts of scientific temper. It aims to inculcate the value of scientific thinking, appreciate scientific development, and drive away superstitions and religious bigotry and all form of pseudoscience. So, in terms of scientific temper, it is broadly defined as a temper always ready to welcome new light, new knowledge, and it is way of life, individual and social process thinking and acting, which uses the scientific method and which may consequently include questioning, observing physical reality, testing, hypothesizing, analyzing, and communicating. These are the basic or fundamental terms used for the scientific temper for common people or the students. Scientific temper as a notion existed for a long time and the origin of the term is unknown. The exact terminology became frequently used in the mid 19th century. The scholar has given the definition in 1893 saying scientific temper means strictness and rigid exactness, which is the outcome of exact science. And very important, which is given by the example of Albert scientists to explain the meaning of scientific temper. We had in recent years a brilliant example of scientific temper of mind in the theory of relativity and its reception by the world. Einstein, a German scientist, was appointed to a research fellowship by the German government in the early days of the war. His predictions were verified by an English expedition which observed the eclipse of 1919. Very soon after the Hermetics, his theory upset the whole theoretical framework of traditional physics. It is almost as damaging to orthodox dynamics as Darwin was to Genesis. Yet, physicists everywhere have shown complete readiness to accept his theory as soon as it appeared that the evidence was in its favor. But none of them, least of all Einstein himself, would claim that he has said the last word. He has not built a monument of infallible dogma to stand for all time. There are difficulties he cannot solve. His doctrines will have to be modified in their turn as they have modified Newton's. This critical, undogmatic receptiveness is the true attitude of science. So, in India, it is the first country to explicitly adopt scientific temper in its constitution. In the 42nd Amendment in 1976, Article 51AH has added under the fundamental duties that states, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. The first major program under the government of India to popularize scientific temper among the people was the Vigyan Mandir experiment in 1953. It was created by S.S. Bhatnagar, at the time head of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, that is CSIR, in Delhi, and launched by Nehru on 15th of August. Its purpose was to disseminate a scientific information of interest to the rural population. And the centers were furnished with scientific tools, films, and books. CSIR started published, and it is okay to everyone.